and we're back on the shit show of French politics, where I explain to Nast what's happening with the French politic and why it can be such a shit show. And this is part 3 of our deep dive into the NUPES, the new leftist coalition, and why it's such a big event in French politics. Going into the parliamentary election, which will take place on the 9th and 12th of June next month.
The NUPES as the new unfortunate paragraph on leftist thingies.
Yeah, it's...
So tell me more about the other parts of the coalition.
About the other part of the coalition. So we're going to make them in order. So the first one are the Green Party. So the Green Party has a very long and convoluted history, which I'm not going to get into, but the Green Party were the first one to reach out to La France Insoumise after the presidential election. And I think this is where La France Insoumise played it really well, because as soon as the first round was over, they had this discourse of, but it's not over, the parliamentary election should be the third round, let's take over power, let's deny a majority to Macron, and let's have Jean-Luc Mélenchon be prime minister. And something to be really understood here is that since 2012, the parliamentary election has been put right after the presidential election, and because of the honeymoon phase of the presidential election, usually the president got a majority in the parliament. It was
so it's something relatively recent.
No, it has happened before, because before it happened sometimes that the parliamentary majority was different from the presidential one. It's what is called a cohabitation. But in 2012, the parliamentary election was moved right after the presidential election, and this changed because it was in the honeymoon phase of the presidential election, so it made it much more difficult. It's not like a midterm election.
Absolutely.
Where you can have an opposition. So it made...
If we look at American politics, there are 2 years, an important part of the parliamentary elections, parliamentary and senatorial elections, are happening 2 years after Biden was elected. So you first have the election, then you have the time to nominate him, or to actually get the new president to take power, and then there's 2 years of dysfunction through which the president and her party needs to go through and then be able to claim that they will be better off if they got a majority in parliament.
Yeah, exactly. So in that it's a bit different, because the first time the cohabitation appeared, there was this decision to really separate the domain. So the president kept the reserve domain of foreign policy and treaty negotiation and signature. And all the internal politics were given to the prime minister. But then when the parliamentary election was moved right after the presidential election, then almost systematically the new president got a majority, because people said, we voted for him, we need to give him a parliament majority.
But the treaty, the powers of treaty are also commercial treaties?
The treaty, general treaty and international policy in general, though there is some overlapping. But here what's interesting is that under these circumstances, it is the first one that we have a re-elected president. So there is not really a honeymoon phase, because now people know what Macron is about. And for La France Insoumise saying that, okay, let's make the parliamentary election a third round, it was also unheard of, and this is also why you had such a moral panic and such a shock, because this was not done before. And
before you go into talking about the other parties that are part of the coalition, I think that I would like to stop recognizing that there is something empowering about seeing, at least if one looks at it with some hopeful eyes, new coalitions on the left, right? Because as you were saying, the center left parties that were meant to be, actually in Spain at least, and I guess in France it's a similar picture, a coalition of the communists with the more middle ground, so the pragmatic leftists and the pragmatic progressives were that space of the pragmatic left that will get to consensus, that will have that will have, let's say, the ability to reach new agreements and to do the flexing that politics require, right? But we've seen in this derive towards more and more. There is no alternative that you're saying to neoliberal deregulation. We've seen more and more that the actual policies for welfare, for having a strong public services such as education or healthcare or elderly care, no, and pensions have been put into so much stress that we're just feeling that those are collapsing systems that were meant to decay and collapse in any case. And in this scenario, the coalitions that are reclaiming that those institutions need to be reinforced and refurbished in a way are being branded as the extreme left. Right?
Yeah, that's really shocking. But I think you're right to underline that that having this leftist coalition that goes to defending the welfare state and trying to improve situation for the majority of the population, it is huge. It has created a lot of hope on the left. Even not everyone, but I'll get there. But for most of the left, it has creating a huge hope. Before they managed to build the coalition, 80% of left-leaning voters in a poll said that they wanted to have a coalition. And the fact that the coalition only exists remobilizes people who used not to vote. And the current polls are also showing a strong dynamics in favor of the leftist coalition. And there was also it's an anecdote, but it was really interesting. So in the weeks following the announcement of the coalition, you had a lot of candidates for the parliamentary election who had to desist because there was also an electoral agreement, and you had a lot of them announcing that they had to desist happily, saying that. Because of the NUPES coalition, I have to give up running for parliament, but I'm very happy to leave my place, and I will participate in the other candidate campaign, and I'm very happy to give up my position so that the union can be done, and that was quite extraordinary. You don't see these kind of things normally.
So there were some. What you're saying is that there were, let's say, some 200 or whatever the number, 200 candidates that were like 50 for the different parties. But now, as they are running as a single party, they are going to be realistic as well as the number of candidates that they are presenting and integrating those.
Yeah, exactly. I will be giving the numbers of the candidates. So the Green Party is the first one that reached to have a coalition because the program and the program difference were really aligned, especially in ecological transition, planification, and having an eco-socialist leaning.
But when we talk about the French Green Party, are we talking more of a traditional left-leaning party with a solid welfare attachment, or are we talking of the green German let us get a coalition with the neoliberals? And
yeah, that's interesting. Is that we had both in the Green Party, and there was a lot of tension between those two poles. One pole that was really eco-socialist, so very close to
And the
what.
other is eco-liberal.
Yeah,
if we
eco-liberal.
can-
Yeah, exactly. And the candidate for the French election, Yannick Jadot, was really on the eco-liberal side, and some of the Green voters were really disappointed when he won the Green primary.
The Pete Buttigieg of green politics.
I don't know, but he was trying to again, the Green and the Socialists were really hoping to get the liberal left back from Macron, and again, it is a strategy that failed. But he was trying to make a liberal, pragmatic campaign, so green liberal working within with the reformist stance. And it didn't work because he got less than 5%. So some of it was vote that might have voted for him, but voted Mélenchon to try to block Marine Le Pen's ascension. Sure, but as a strategy, it did not work. So the Green Party leaders were very quick to recognize, okay, we tried to have the liberal green leaning. It didn't work. It even pushed away some of our voter base. So coalition makes sense, and it was very quickly. On top of this, I would say that the Green Party got quite a good deal from the coalition. So they got 100 districts. So the total is 577 districts. 577 constituency for the parliament. So the Green got 100, which is rather good. It gives them good chances to have a parliament group. You need at least 15 parliament members to have an autonomous group. And also they got a number of districts in the big cities, because the big cities have turned to the Green vote lately, quite a number of French metropolises. So they got a number of districts that they really wanted to have, because it was in areas where the Green vote has expanded, and it gave them more chances to win. So I feel like, from what I've read, most of the leaders and activists for the Green Party were satisfied with the negotiation, except the presidential candidate, Yannick Jadot, who was very critical of the agreement and is actually not going to run for parliament. So I think, and we don't hear him that much these days. So I think he's must be sulking someplace. So yeah, that's the first one. Then we have,
might be able to run for En Marche.
Yeah, he's
No, sorry. Renaissance by Macron.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of rumors saying that he might become a minister of something under Macron. Currently, he's European Parliament deputy. Then we have the communists. So the Communist Party is more or less the story of a great big decline. Right now, the Communist Party also has a sort of pragmatic. We need to work with the companies and the private sector. So, which for Communist Party is a bit strange, but yeah, that's also a very long and convoluted story. What's important to know is that the Communist Party in 2012 and 2017 didn't run for the presidential election. They had an alliance with Jean-Luc Mélenchon. So with the Left Party and then La France Insoumise. And so they didn't have an independent candidate. And after 2017, there was a new direction in the Communist Party with the presidential candidate that they had, Fabien Roussel. And their main objective was to have an independent platform, an independent candidacy for the presidential election, because there was this fear that the Communist Party would disappear or would be too dissolved in La France Insoumise. And during the presidential election, there was this really weird situation, because the program of the Communist Party was extremely similar to La France Insoumise, so they had to really insist about what was different between them, mostly the question of what to do with the nuclear energy sector. But most of the time,
because La France Insoumise was anti-nuclear.
Yes, they are advocating for going out of the nuclear, and that's not and the communists want to maintain it. So they were pushing really hard on trying to differentiate themselves from La France Insoumise. There was also a couple of not very good take about. So they didn't use the infamous Islamo-leftism, but they were sort of implying that La France Insoumise is being too lenient with Islamists, so that they can get the popular suburb and the migrants or descendant of migrants votes. So there were some really poor takes in that. And their objective was really to try to make at least 5%, because that's how low the communists have been. And the communist candidate Fabien Roussel, he had a bit of media traction for a while, because since they were really trying to take space away from La France Insoumise, some of the mainstream media was very happy to give him a platform. But this failed as well. I think it finished at something like 2 or 3%. So the normal take. So after the Green, the Communist Party went to negotiate rather quickly with La France Insoumise. They have been given 50 districts, which I feel like is decent for their current electoral weight. But there have been a couple of dissident communist candidacies.
And the socialists, I think you skipped them.
No, I'm going to finish with the socialist, okay, because the socialist it is the big part, and they were the last one to get there because they were the hardest to get. So the communists are sometimes a bit of a soul loser, because they build their whole identity is in the past 5 years from, we're going to be different. We're not La France Insoumise anymore. We need to build our own identity, and now they have to get back to being part of the coalition, and they don't like it. So finishing with the socialist was the longest negotiation. It took a very great number of days to get there, because originally several members, because again there is a lot of tension with the Socialist Party because of the legacy of the Hollande Liberal presidency, of the Holland Labor Law, that's still hugely criticized. And originally some of La France Insoumise spokesperson were saying, no, we'll do a leftist coalition, but not with the socialists. That's how strong it was. And this is actually one of the issues where it was a Mélenchon decision, saying that no, we're also taking over the socialist, which makes sense in the sense that so they did 1.7% at the presidential election.
The main socialist, the main leftist
party.
So
that was a trashing, but
below the communists.
Yeah, below the communists.
That's a shame. That's really like coming last in Eurovision.
Yeah, well, it's usually where France is in Eurovision, so it makes sense. But but however, the reason why the socialists ran for presidency, even though they were getting weaker and weaker, is that in the intermediate election, so in the municipal election and regional election, they still did good numbers, notwithstanding that there was so much abstention that this is the only thing that carried them. But for a bit, the socialists were like, oh no, we're not completely dead. We still have all of our local structure and local...
I imagine they have a very, very broad reach in regional city halls and regional departments.
Yeah, exactly. So the hope of the Socialist Party was really, we still have a strong local network, and after a first Macron presidency...
I think I'm gonna leave you finish this up because I'm hearing a baby that might be crying.
Oh, all right. So finishing with the socialists, so during the negotiation for the coalition, there has been a major split in the Socialist Party, because you have the new generation of socialist leaders who decided to say, this didn't work. We're going to break with the legacy of Hollande. We're going to accept changing the labor law. We have to accept that we're not going to be leaders. We're just going to be part of a coalition. And the old socialists who were part of the Hollande presidency were really pissed, including President Hollande, which is very very pissed about the coalition. But in the end, so the socialists wanted 100 districts. La France Insoumise was offering 30. They finally negotiated 70 districts. And again, so there's clearly been a split with the new socialist generation saying that no, we're accepting the alliance.
Papa.
You want to talk about politics, honey? And the old socialists being very pissed and supporting dissident candidacy. And the current first secretary of the Socialist Party, Olivier Faure, said to the old socialists, which are aptly nicknamed the elephants, saying that if you're not happy, you can go to Macron. We're going to accept that we're just a secondary force because a lot of socialists say no, but the center left is going to rise again once Macron is out of the picture. Yeah. It's borderline delusional at times, and but the biggest part of the socialists said no, we're going to accept it. We're not going to be the driving force of the alliance, and they're actually very happy. The first secretary of the socialists, he's lost 5 years. And they say, oh, but no, finally people were upset with us, but no, when we go doing door to doors, they are congratulating us and they are nice with us again because we are a leftist party again, and it's awesome. So so it was complicated getting there, but now they're happy. And so the issue is to know how solid the alliance is going to be, and of course there are dissident candidacy and the like, but right now it's still an optimistic, and it's a hope for a lot of people, and I'm sure we'll cover more of it as the parliamentary election grow closer.
Yes.
Do you want to vote for the NUPES, baby?
Then that means this year. That's great. But in a way, it's a very. So when you told me about it, I thought that it's rather promising, or that at least it brings something that it's sorely missed more often than not in European politics, and it's hope, right? Having a program that actually enthuses people, that actually has a positive, constructive, and aspirational goal to move the needle in improving people's lives. And that's something that more often than not we just distrust, because we've seen how power has often, even when wielded by the left, has often just either been ineffective or just been used to self-protect or to keep themselves in the elite or abusing that power and being now part of the main table stakes. No?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what we started with, that it is huge. It is hope for a lot of people. The question remains to be seen that how huge and how significant it will be, because in terms of polls, so currently the NUPES is leading in the polls, but because there are 577 districts, it doesn't preclude how much parliament members they will have in the end. And but so it's going to be tough. But right now, with this kind of dynamics, they might be able to make it. It's going to be really hard, but it's not impossible. And the mere fact that it's not impossible, it is really huge, and it's a hope for a lot of people.
Thank you. And thank you, little critter. Yes.
And this will be it for our leftist analysis, and we'll continue next time with another exciting subject on the shit show of French politics.